this is Sandra from Greyd, and in this video I'm going to show you the amazing possibilities you have with our Greyd theme. And we will start in our Greyd theme dashboard, from where you can access all relevant areas in your backend. You can see the changelog, and as you can see below, Greyd has even a lot more to offer than just this Greyd theme. So if you're looking for an all-in-one solution that covers website management, forms, pop-ups, dynamic content, headless features, custom post types, and many more, then please have a look on our website. In this video, we are now going to focus on the Greyd theme. The Greyd theme is a plug theme, so you benefit from all the amazing possibilities that Full Site Editing offers, among others global styles, with which we are now going to start. As you know from any blog theme, you can select between different theme styles and change the overall look and feel of your theme with just a click. And also you got a style book where you have a preview of all your blogs with your global styles. Greyd theme also comes with a setup pattern that you can also find below on the home page. That gives you an even better overview of your global design settings, as you will find all elements that can be styled globally right next to each other. So now let's take a look at the global styles. You have, as usual, the core global styles of WordPress, but Greyd also offers you a lot of additional global styles that you can access here with this icon. Unfortunately, it's not yet possible to insert these directly here in the native global styles. This is why you have the two icons you can switch between. So let's start with colors. You know it, you can define your color palette and define your theme colors here, and then for the individual items like texts, backgrounds, links, etc., you can then select between your theme colors. Sometimes you also have additional options like hover styles or also gradients. However, we were still missing a couple of features that we find very important for professional designers. For example, in buttons, there's only one button style here and no hovers, no box shadows, and all these great possibilities that the designers want to have. So this is exactly where the Greyd styles come into place. All the design options that you might be missing here in the core features, you will definitely find them here in the Greyd styles. We will have a look at each of them now. For now, I just want to give you my recommendation that all the options that you can define here in the Greyd styles, do them there and only deal with what's left, for example, headline styles here in the core global styles. Same with fonts. You can, of course, work with the core options here. You will see your theme fonts here, can upload custom fonts, work with Google Fonts and all that. But there's also a lot more in the Greyd styles. Here in the font families, you can select different fonts for your theme. And there's also a lot of presets that you can use, a lot of website fonts, modern fonts, and of course also Google fonts. They are directly here. And there's also a button to host these fonts locally and stay GDPR compliant. And there's also custom font upload here. So let's go back to that. Next is font sizes. Here again, Greyd comes with some very handy additional options. So here you define the font size presets from tiny to huge that you can select in all your blogs later that have fonts, text, headlines, etc. And of course you can work with static values here and say, okay, I want the huge headline to be always 100 pixels. That may look good on bigger screens if you want to have a really big headline, but you always are facing the issues that on smaller screens it often just doesn't work out. Which is why we also offer you the possibility to do it with fluid font sizes. And with that you can define a minimum and a maximum value, and in between that It's made sure that your font sizes automatically size according to the screen size. So for example, we could say we want to have 2.5 rem as a minimum, and on bigger screens, if there's enough space, I want it to be really huge. I have different units to choose from, and I could say I want it to be 10% of my viewport. So while this is a very huge headline on big screens, I mean, I've got it's not possible here to extend since I'm working with columns, but it would look good on big screens, and still on smaller screens it looks good, and in between that as well. So that's my tip for here. Then one word on the additional global block styles that you can find here in the core options. You have the possibility to define lots of blocks, or all your blocks globally here, but you do need to know that if you define, for example, global styles for a button here, that doesn't apply how the buttons in, for example, the comment section or in a search block looks like, as these buttons are different types of buttons. So my recommendation again is just use the Greyd styles, because if you define the global styles here, then this applies to all buttons of any kind, never mind if they are in a form, in a search, a comment, wherever. So this is just a better way to do it. And as you can see here, we offer you a lot more options as well. So you have 3 different button styles that you can define globally. You have some basic settings like font and sizes, but also paddings that you can define here for all your buttons. And then you have 3 different button types. And here you will now find hover styles. You have border radius, again with hover styles. You can style box shadows, again with hovers, etc., etc. Same for input fields. You can again have some basics that you can define globally here, but also primary and secondary variant, again with hovers and border radius and all that. And if you're using additional Greyd features like Greyd forms, this also applies to how the input fields in your Greyd forms will look like. You also have global stylings for your labels, etc. And what we didn't have a look at before in the typography settings was that here you can also define globally not only the fonts that are going to be used for text, links, headings, etc., but also line height, letter spacings, and stuff like that. So much on the styles. Now you also have the possibility to define globally things like spacings, paddings, margins, and all that. And again, Greyd offers you a lot more options here without coding. So if you have a look at the spacing options here, you can define the 5 presets that you can see at many places in the blogs, for example. If you have a look at, I don't know, let's take a look at groups, for example. You usually have these paddings, margins, block spacings. They always use these presets here. And these presets with Greyd can be defined individually using modern CSS functions. So let's take a look at spacings. These are the 5 presets: extra large, large, medium, small, and tiny. And again, as we've seen it in the fonts, you can have a simple and work with static values. You can work with min and max. And you also have options like clamp, which works more or less similar to the fluid font sizes, but additionally offers you a preferred value. And with this, you have all the possibilities of modern responsive web design, of intrinsic web design out of the box at your hands. Other than that, in the core global styles, you can also define globally the paddings, margins, and block spacings for your website. Again, here are the presets that we just defined globally. These values can always be overwritten on a block level, so this is just the default value. Same for the content width that defines how wide your content is spread on your page. Usually, if you take a look at the plug toolbar here, none is the default, which is the content size that you can define here. If you want to have it bigger, you can use wide width that you can define here. And there's also the option full width. Again, this is the simple way to do it. If you want to have some more sophisticated options here, have a look at the Greyd settings. Here on the grid, you can also use these modern CSS features to define the content and white size for your website. So much on the global styles. Now let's also have a look at patterns and templates. As you know, blog themes have different types of templates, and Greyd offers you a lot of them in each category. For example, we have the templates themselves, which define how certain areas of your website look like. For example, there's a template for regular pages. You can have the home page as a template. And there are also templates for how post pages look like, how search results pages look like, the 404 page. There's also a blank template without header and footer, and much more. You have our presets here, but you can also edit them and create your own ones. And then there are also template parts, which, as the name already indicates, are parts of these templates. So primarily it's the header and footer. So if we take a look, for example, at the home template and have a look at the list view, you can see there's a template part for the footer. And up here we have also a template part for a header. You can also directly edit these template parts in here. You only need to know that if you do that, that doesn't only change the template here on this home page, but entirely. Next to editing existing templates, of course, you can also create your own ones by just clicking here on the plus and select which type of template you want to create. You will always have the most flexibility with custom templates that you can later select on your pages. But you could also, for example, create a second page template with a different header and footer, and will always benefit from the suggestions that Greyd offers you then. Also, if you are using additional Greyd features like our Greyd plugin with the custom post types, you will also be able to create individual single templates, for example, for your custom post types or individual archive templates, etc. Same for the patterns, which are templates for sections of your website that you can build yourself as well. You can have them static, you can also have them synced, and you can see there are a lot of templates that Greyd offers to you. You have an overview of them here, and this is also where you can centrally access all your template parts. So you see there's a lot of footer examples that Greyd offers you, a lot of headers, etc. And the same way as we have extended the site editor and all these options we've just seen, we've done the same in the blog editor. So if you're using not only our theme, but also the Greyd plugin, you will also find lots of extensions in the core blogs, also additional custom blogs of Greyd, and a lot more. So if you're interested, there is a demo video on our website, and you can also test all our premium features free of charge with a Greyd watermark in the front end.
For more videos and information, please visit our Help Center.